Come. Shalom, Israel. Shalom. I want to thank y'all for coming out tonight. Today we have a special lesson that pertains to your history, your legacy, your origin in which you come from. I feel like today this is a critical lesson that we all need to engage in because it's simply based off of your name. What do we call ourselves? We call ourselves Israelites, right? What is an Israelite? If I can ask anybody in the crowd. To Zazara, what's an Israelite? You might give him the mic. Come.
Israelite is simply a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob, of course, his name was changed to Israel.
Come. And what does Israel mean?
That I'm not sure.
Does anybody know what Israel means? Go ahead, Kaniyat.
To prevail with God and men.
To prevail with God and men. And so now when we go into the scriptures, right? The scriptures talks about in Job chapter 8, verse 8, of how important it is for us to understand our history, for us to understand where we come from, for us to understand our legacy and everything that transpired while we were here on earth. And so now when we get that, if you read Job chapter 8, verse 8, if you can read that for me.
God, this is the book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Read it one more time.
For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
So it says, inquire. He says, I pray you, mean I beg you to search out your fathers. Search out where you come from because it's important. What have you ever heard the saying? If you don't know where you come from, you can't know where you're headed, right? So now there's a reason why our people are walking blind. Our people are walking carelessly. Why we have no care for our life, we don't have care for or consideration for others because we don't know where we come from. We don't know the rich history that we have. We don't know the rich legacy that's been left behind by our ancestors. And that's why it's easy for us to just look at another black or brown man and just not even consider each other, to look at another black and brown woman and not have no type of care for each other because we really don't recognize the value that we have. And so now the reason why I asked the question of what does Israel mean is because there's significance in it. Because when you read Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 1, the book of Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 1, the reason why we had certain names in Israel is because we had something to live up to, something to aspire to, or it's defined by something that's taken place. And so now there was a significant moment in history that took place during this time and why Jacob's name was turned to Israel. Read.
God, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches.
He said a good name is chosen more than riches, more than any silver, more than gold, more than any precious ruby is your name. That's why they took initiative to take your name from you. Why it was important for them to turn your name from whatever your Hebrew name was and give you a Americanized name. Why it was important for them to strip you of your language, of your identity and your heritage and give you a new heritage and give you a new name. There's the most, I said, this is more important than any precious stone that you could think of on earth. Your name is more important. And we're going to see, it says, let's read Genesis chapter 33. Your name is valuable. Prevail. What does prevail mean? To what, Torah? To conquer, to win, to strive, to be successful, to be victorious. So now, when you tell us that we're just niggas, when you tell us that we're just African Americans, what are we striving for when you just tell me I'm just African American, when I'm just a nigga? Do I have anything to look forward to? Do I have anything to look back to? So now everything is in a shot. There's nothing there. But now when I say you come from a descendant of people that prevailed, you're a descendant of people that won. You're a descendant of people that conquered, that were superior. Now, what does that do to your mind? What does that do for the youth? When you tell a young child that he's a descendant of somebody that won, It inspires things. It causes your wheels to start spinning. Whereas initially you were like, man, I don't really care. Even me as an Israelite in a public education system, I didn't care about history in there. I care about history when I came to Sabbath class, but in there, they wasn't teaching me nothing. It was pastime. You know what they taught us in public education? That we was niggas. That we was slaves. We got 2 pages in history that you were slaves, and then about 100 years later, you got civil rights. We allowed you to vote. And after that, that's it. We don't have nothing else after that. And that's why we don't really care. And like I said, I've been an Israelite since day one. But I can tell you, being in that system of how it can turn your mind and make you not even care. It can cause you to be like, you know what? Black history, I'm tired of hearing that I'm a slave. I'm tired of hearing that I'm just a nigga, that I'm just a gang member, or I'm just, or whatever name that they try to place on me. But now when we read the Bible, when we read the scriptures, the Most High says that it doesn't refer to you as just a nigga. He says you have nigga tendencies when you go against his ways. But he doesn't refer to you as a nigga just in itself. He refers you as a peculiar treasure. Let's read that. Get 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. So can somebody mute that TV? I'm gonna read it. We're gonna get there. God, Genesis chapter 33. And let me get that for you 1 second. 2 verse 9.
Come on. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy children, a holy nation, Salakia, a peculiar people.
He said a peculiar people. What does peculiar mean? It means unique. Meaning there's a distinct difference between you and every nation on the face of the earth. Meaning he set you apart from everybody on the face of the earth. Meaning he handpicked you out of everybody. He said, this is my people. I know I created everybody on the face of the earth, but this people right here is something special. This people right here is something unique. And I got to hold them dear to myself. They don't tell you that in a public education. Imagine our black and brown children being taught that they're special to God. That you're special to the Most High Creator of heaven and earth. You know how dangerous that is? But instead, they flip it. They say, nah, we got to tell them that they was 3/5 of a human being. That in order for them to vote, they needed 2 people to be considered 1 vote. Because they didn't even consider you as a full human being. They consider you a subhuman species. They consider you not even human. You were lower than cattle. These is all the stuff that they think that they placed on you, and so much that we started internalizing these things and we started believing it. Usually when I put lessons together, I kind of see where the minds of my people is at, and then I start asking people in my area or in the hood or at work, and that's one of the homies, and I was like, you know what? What do you think is the main issue within our community, within the black community? And he's like, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, cuz I don't even really care. he said, damn homies, I don't really care. And this not just him. When I go to Howard University, because I went to Howard as well. It's probably the most prestigious institution in the black community. And they'll say the exact same thing. The verbiage may be different, but the actions is the same. We don't care about our own people. And so much, it was times, even while I was at Howard, we were feeding, the homeless in the community. We were feeding the people in the area. And they were surprised to see Howard students even among them. Because, they were in those institutions, they're referred to as a black bourgeoisie, right? Y'all know what that is? Meaning the upper class, meaning the bougie black people, right? And they only care about themselves and the riches that they've attained. And their whole focus is fitting in within white society. And so now we see even the black people that quote unquote won or made it in life, are they really winning? Are you really winning when you're still subservient to your white oppressor? Are you really winning when you're trying your best to steer away from who you are to fit into something else? So now you see how detrimental it is when you don't know who you are. Even when you make it in this system, or quote unquote make it in this system, you're not really winning. Even when you're at the bottom, when you're suffering through poverty, you're not winning. So now what is really winning? What does it really mean to win? It means to know yourself, to know who you are, to know what's required of you, know where you come from, because then that changes your outlook on life. I'm not just striving to just get riches just to bring it to myself. I'm striving so my people could be free. I'm striving so my people could be well off, so my people could be at the top where we're supposed to be, not just myself. And so now going to that scripture, Genesis chapter 32, and read verse 28.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 28. It says, and he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob.
Read verse 25. Let's start there.
Gone.
No, 24. So.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 24.
Uh-huh.
And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him.
So now there's significance even in just in that. It said he wrestled with the man until the break of day, meaning all day. He fought. What's that song? Kendrick Lamar, all's my life I had to fight. Didn't the Oprah say that in Color Purple? All's my life had to. Even throughout history, our people had to fight. It's embedded in our DNA that we're fighters. But we're not just fighters. We're fighters that win. We're fighters that conquer. We're fighters that overcome. And so now it's in your spirit, within your forefather, of what happened. What happened when he kept fighting? Read.
Verse 26. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me.
He said, I'm not going to stop fighting until I get what's mine. Man, until I get my blessing, I'm going to keep fighting. And we're going to see throughout history, our ancestors kept fighting until they attained what they sought out to get. That's important because they like to tell you that we were just passive, that we just accepted scraps, that we just accepted whatever was given to us. That's not how our ancestors got down. That's a story that your enemy tells you. That's a story that your oppressor tells you, that, you know, we captured them from West Africa. They served us for this amount of time, and you know, we just decided to let them go. That's not how it went. Tell the whole story. Tell the whole story, that we never stopped fighting. That ever since, the reason we even ended up in West Africa was because we were fighting. The reason why we ended up in here on the shores of the 13 colonies of the U.S. was because we were fighting. The war never stopped. We may have lost battles. We may have lost certain strongholds, so on and so forth, but we never lost the war. The war's still going on. And so now we see this is an example. It said to the break of day, all day our people will fight. Our people our forefather had to fight for his blessing. And what happened after that?
This is verse 27. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men.
So earlier I asked, what's the definition of Israel? Israel, when you break it down in the Hebrew, Israel, it can be broken down in several ways, meaning prince of power, to prevail with God, or God prevails. Either way it goes, it still signifies dignity. It still signifies you ruling, you winning, you conquering. So now the word that we need to focus on is the word prevail, of how important that is. So, let's go to the book of Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16. How important it is to know what it means to prevail.
Gone. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask of the old paths.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the good way? And walk therein,
Uh-huh.
and ye shall find rest for your souls.
Right. Read Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 1. I believe that's Ecclesiastes. Mm-hmm. Verse 1. Ecclesiastes 7:1.
Gone. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment,
Mm-hmm.
and the day of death than the day of one's birth.
So now let's key into that. It says the day of your death is way more precious than the day of your birth. Why is that? And can anybody give a wild guess? One more time. If you read.
Because your trials are over.
Your trials
name
are,
is there.
Your trials are over. Dive into that a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
It depends on how you lived. If you live righteously, you go with the Most High.
Right.
It's you lived the life, you did what you needed to do, and now it's over.
Okay, I like that. You know what? Let's key into that. Your trial is over, and you did what you need to do, and now your life, you can move on to the next phase, right? What I want to key in is legacy, what you left behind. That's why the Most High says the day of your death is more important than the day that you're born. When I'm born, I didn't do anything yet. There's no action. There's nothing that I've done yet. But the more I stay on earth, the more work that I put in, the more things that I've done and accomplished, now I'm leaving something behind when it's time for me to go. So that's why the Most High says the day of your death is more important, because considering what you left behind. Look at what Jacob left behind. Look at the story that his descendants left behind. That's why the day of their death is more important, because once it's time for them to go, once it's time for them to give up the ghost, now look at the works. I fought and I didn't stop fighting. Look at the accomplishments. Look at all the things that I built up. Look at the name. Look at the name that I left for my descendants. When my descendants look back, now they're able to see, hey, look at my forefather. My forefather overcame this, so that means I got potential to overcome this. And we want to see how important just knowing what your forefathers accomplished can help you accomplish your goals. Because now when you see that things are possible, now you see for yourself, dang, you know what, it is possible. Because my pops did it. His granddad did it. So what's keeping me from being able to do the same thing, if not better? You know what I'm saying? So now let's get into Baruch chapter 2 and verse 30. And then if you could write down the book of Job chapter 9 verse 21, it's pretty much talking about if I didn't know my own soul, I would despise my life. And that's just coinciding with just the behavior of our people in general, of how we're conducting ourselves. Well, there is no self-love within our community because we don't know who we are. But if you knew who you were, there would be so much love being spread. If you knew how valuable you are, if you knew how valuable you are to the Most High, there would be way more camaraderie. There would be way more compassion. There would be way more unity within our communities, just for the simple fact of you knowing how great you are. Now read Baruch chapter 2, verse 30.
Gone. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves.
So he said, I knew you wouldn't hear me, because our people are what he said, stiff-necked. Stiff meaning hard-headed. And we like doing things our own way, trying to figure out life on our own method and our own tactics of doing things. When the Most High said, I already gave you the playbook to succeed. I gave you the cheat codes to life. I mean, he said, I'm going to set you on high above all nations on the earth if you just abide by what I told you to do. If you apply my methods, you're going to win. You're going to prevail. That's why I want to key on the definition, God will prevail. It's not just the fact that will prevail, God will prevail. Meaning the reason why we're able to overcome any aspect in our life is because God was with us. The Most High was with us. It's not based off our own merit, our own abilities. It's the abilities that God gave us. So now when Jacob was wrestling with an angel, you think it was just Jacob's reason why he was able to overcome? Or was it the power that the Most High gave Jacob to overcome? That's why it's important. We can't forget the Most High. Yeah, and we got to key into the Hebrew word, Yasharallah. What's the first word that pops up within that Hebrew word? Yah. Yahweh's name. So the Most High's name is already within you, meaning Yahweh will prevail. In every aspect, no matter what trial or whatever tribulation that you're facing, the Most High is going to prevail, so long as you believe. And we're going to see our ancestors believe that. And the ancestors that didn't believe that were overcame. The ancestors that did believe it overcame their enemies. And so it said, I knew you wouldn't hear me. Meaning it's already prophesied. You got brothers in San Francisco right now, right? They preaching to the wind. It's a whole bunch of people that's focused on chasing women right now, looking for the next turn up right now. They talking to nobody right now. But it's gonna come a time that those brothers gonna get heard. That's what the prophecy said. That's what the scriptures say. It said, in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. Are we in the land of our prosperity? Are we in the land of our own land? We're in the land of our enemies, in the land of our captivities. Our ancestors were right here by force. They didn't come here on their own free will. They didn't just hop on cargo slave ships and we're gonna go to the new world. No, they were forced here as slaves, not just as slaves, as chattel slaves at the bottom of the boat. So now, read that one more time.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves.
So now, how will we remember ourselves? Is the big question. Because how are we going to remember ourselves? All right?
Remember ourselves in terms of like history, or ourselves personally, or are you talking about in general?
Just what you think?
Twofold. Well, in general, by studying scriptures. And you mentioned earlier in the class, you don't know where you're going unless you know your history. So that's how we really find out who leave a memory. So, and then also your personal walk. We can all leave this earth today, and at our memorial, people gonna talk about how we lived. And right then and there, that's how you're gonna find out about that person. You can go to any memorial service and not even know the person, and you're gonna find out who they are.
Right. So we said your history and your own personal walk, how you conduct yourselves and the things that you search out. Meaning you got to search for yourself in order for you to overcome. Meaning your own study, even the information I'm about to relate to, you got to prove it. I can give you information, but now you got to go out for yourself. Be like, you know what? This is true. Or if you don't believe it's true, you got to prove it for yourself and search it out and really study for yourself so you can overcome within your battle. So it says, in the land of their captivities, they'll remember themselves. It's through education. It's through you educating yourself. And how do you get educated? Let's get Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12. He said through the scriptures, and that's one thing I do want to key into, because it's not just understanding history. The reason why we need to understand history is so it can back up what this is already saying. That's why we need to go back into history. It's not just for us to know and just be aware, man, my ancestors were conquerors. My ancestors were winners. The reason why you go to these things is so you can understand it, but also apply it. It said not just hearers of the word, but what? But doers. So it's always going to be about your walk. It's always going to be about your actions. So the reason why you go and get this game, get this information, get this wisdom, is so you can apply it. This is the way. They said, this is the way. Walk ye in it. So now if you want to win, it's not just me being aware of what the Bible says. A lot of people are aware of what the Bible says. But it's the application of the Bible. It's the application of what the scriptures say. That's how you'll be able to win in this walk. But read Hebrews chapter 5.
This is the book of Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God. He said
that's principle number one, is education. And even if you think that you know something, you have need that somebody teach you again. What does the scripture say? A man that thinks he knows anything knows nothing, yet as he ought to know. Meaning within this walk, you're going to constantly be learning. I've been in this walk my whole life. And there's been moments where I thought I knew stuff, and the Most High will humble you and make you start over and make you be like, let's see how much you really want to learn, how much you really want to succeed. And you got to learn. You got to relearn what you thought you knew. That's this walk. And the hungrier you are, the more diligent you are, is how you succeed within this walk. It's not just you attaining knowledge, because there's a lot of Hebrews that got knowledge. But now the walk is the main situation. You can have all the knowledge, but it said, if I lack charity, what does it mean? What did Paul say? It means nothing. I can know every aspect, every work of every Hebrew that walked on the face of the earth, but if I don't have no love for my people, if I don't have love for my community, if I don't have love for the world, for the Most High, what does it mean? It means nothing. So this walk is always about what you do, not what you just read, not just what you study, but the application of what you study. Read it one more time, Mike.
Gone. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 12. For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God.
So it's important that we stay humble within this walk. It's important that in our journey of studying and getting to learn ourselves and learning the Most High, that we remain humble. That when you do increase in knowledge, that you stay humble, that you don't get high-minded, that you don't get prideful and arrogant, thinking that you know everything. Because I've seen so many leaders fall since I was a kid. I've seen leaders that I thought was the most smartest, the most educated, and they are nowhere to be found anymore. No, they're not in this faith anymore. Why? Because they let that pride get to them. So now it's important that when you do attain wisdom, when you do get the blessing from the Most High, that you work to maintain that blessing. That's what it's about. And the Most High shows you within your history of how to sustain. Not just to get the blessing, but how to maintain the blessing as well. That's what it's about. And so read Revelation chapter 12, verse 16. I'm not going to get into the deep understanding of Revelation, which I'm just using it as an example. But Revelations discusses a woman. And when we understand the Most High in Jeremiah chapter, 6 verse 2? He said he refers to Israel as this woman. And so now this woman is going through tribulation. She's going through her burdens, right? And it talks about how this woman was able to thrive, how this woman was able to succeed. And it was saying in Revelation chapter 12, verse 16. Let's read that.
This is the book of Revelations, chapter 12, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood.
Read verse 15 first.
Gone. This is Revelations chapter 12, verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
So now what does this flood represent? Meaning lies, doctrines, the teachings of this world. What does the world teach you about yourself? We just went through it. What's the 3/5 compromise, right? In order for blacks to be able to vote, you need 2 black men in order to be considered 1 vote. What are they telling you? That you're nothing. That's the floods that Satan or Esau is putting into this world to convince you that you're nothing. And it said it's a flood, meaning it's trying to consume you, overwhelm you with lies. Lies about yourself, lies about history, lies about things that your ancestors have accomplished. It's a whole bunch of lies. But now the scriptures say what happened what did the Most High do in order to help the woman? What happened?
Verse 16. And the earth helped the woman.
What does it mean the earth helped the woman? What's a significant thing that's in the earth that allows it to help us? What kind of resource? Well, if we're talking about lies, right? We're talking about deceit. How the waters in this context is deceit, right? And now it's saying the earth helped the woman. Well, what allowed her to see? The truth, right? The word, history, archaeology. He said the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's so much information and history popping up all around the world about your history. At first, we thought this was lost history. Your enemies thought it was gone. They thought they burned it. They thought they burned your legacy. You know how many libraries they destroyed? They even libraries in other cultures, like this guy, Hebrew history, we got to get rid of that. They can never know how great they were. Get Psalm chapter 83. They can never know how great they were. The scriptures say the earth helped the woman. What's another thing? Archaeology. There's records. There's accounts in other cultures about your accomplishments. In other languages about these people that accomplished these great things. Whether it's in West Africa, whether it's in India, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's still in Israel, even here in the United States. So many accomplishments that attest to you being the chosen people of God. That's what it means when it said the earth helped the woman, meaning things are getting uncovered, meaning it's probably underground. Our people hid stuff in catacombs in Europe, in caves. We had, look, the Most High is dynamic in how he does things. Something that happened 3,000 years ago will get revealed tomorrow for your benefit. Stuff that the Greeks thought they destroyed is now being revealed for the Israelites today. That's why it says the earth helped the woman. The Most High is always going to leave you a room to escape, to overcome, to get back on top. But it's for you to take advantage of that opportunity. What did it say? To prevail with God, right? Meaning the Most High is going to give you the assist, but are you going to take it? He's always going to give you the tool, but are you going to apply it? What is that tool? It's your history. It's your records right here. You know how much wars happen around this book right here? You know how much bloodshed? How many people came against? Just the translation of the King James Bible in itself was a risk. Just the translation of translating the Bible from Greek and Hebrew to English was life-threatening. Why? Because you cannot let these people know that they're great. We're trying to strip them of their heritage, and you're trying to give them their heritage back. It's an ongoing battle that keeps on going on. The Most High said, but the Most High is going to prevail. What did Christ tell Paul when he was trying to persecute the church? He said, you kick it against the pricks. Meaning you're only hurting. What is a prick? Meaning a sharp object. You're only kicking and harming yourself the more you fight against God's word. The more you go against what the Most High already established and ordained, you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting God. You're not even really hurting Israel. You're hurting yourself. It's unnecessary. It's like it's just you're hurting yourself. But read Psalm chapter 83.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
No, they that love thee.
They that hate thee have lifted up the head.
It said they that hate thee. These other nations do not love you. And that's where we get it misconstrued. We think these nations love it because they give us gifts. They give you a couple of grants. They give you a couple of, they might give you a scholarship to go to their schools, right? Like, man, the white man might not be so bad. They give you a couple of loans that they don't tell you about the interest rates. You might think, man, they not so bad. They looked out for me when I was at the bottom. That's the thing. That's what you got to look for when you're at the bottom and you get those opportunities. When you're very vulnerable, that's what your enemies feed off of. Because then you're willing to fall for anything. That's how you get attached to all kind of situations that you wouldn't do. You wouldn't make those decisions when you're in a what do you call it? What do you say? What's the word? A superior position. When you're in a balanced position, certain decisions you wouldn't make. But when you're vulnerable, you're going to take those opportunities because you need it. Your enemy convinced you that you need them. You gave up God for your enemy. Your enemy convinced you to leave God, to stop serving God, and now you're serving your enemy. You're gonna serve somebody, but who's more beneficial to serve? That's the deception of your enemy. I was just reading The Art of War. The key aspect of war is deception. In order for you to win, whether you win or lose, it's all based on deception. And so now the reason why our people keep on falling for the okie dog, people keep on staying stuck in this position is because we've been deceived. They keep deceiving you. We're going to read that. Continue to read Psalms.
This is Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
It says crafty counsel. Crafty meaning they're meticulous about everything that they do. It's not nothing that's transpired is an accident. Any loan, any opportunity that they give you is not for your. It appears to be for your benefit, but guarantee it benefits them a lot more. If they give you welfare, if they give you your EBT, Section 8 housing, if they give you a business loan or whatever it is, best believe it benefits them a lot more than it benefits you. If they give you a record deal, if they give you a entertainment deal, best believe it benefits them a lot more than it benefits you, regardless if it's millions of dollars. Best believe that. You think LeBron James is making money? Imagine the people that LeBron James is under, how much money they're making. The person that's writing this checks. But being that we come from nothing, he came from what, Cleveland, Ohio? We come from poverty. 100 mil, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. 100 mil, that's a lot of money, right? But the Most High said you're way more precious than gold. Your name, your legacy is more precious than gold. I don't care how the dollar bill has no value if we want to be. It only has value based on what you put on it. The Most High said gold, which actually has value, you're more precious than that. You're more precious than any crypto coin that's being developed right now. You're more precious than any fine ruby that they found in Africa that they stole from the landmass. You're more precious than that. If we read these things and if we understood these and internalized these things, our life would change. We wouldn't just accept what's given to us, but we'll actually take what's ours. That's the thing. We'll begin to take what's ours. And that's what they feared in history. There's a reason why the Bible was prevented for you. You could not read. If you were caught reading, it was a problem. If even white people that were caught teaching a black person or people to read were penalized. You're a traitor. How are you a traitor? Why are you a traitor? Because you're teaching an enemy about themselves. You know how detrimental that is for black people to know that they're great? For black people to know that they conquered their oppressors before? This is not their first go around. This matter of fact, this their last one. The Bible says it. Throughout history, it shows how we built up kingdoms. And what else did we do? We destroyed them at the same time. The same kingdoms that we built up, we destroyed. So now if you teach these people that this country that they built up through bloodshed, through genocide, through all types of atrocities that you forced them to do, imagine if you taught them that they're those same Israelites that overthrew all those other great nations. Imagine where this country's headed. If everybody really, not just because there's a lot of people that know they're Israelites, but are really aware of what it means to be an Israelite. Because I get a lot of shalams. They see the fringes. Shalom, brother, keep the good work, man. But imagine people really knew what it meant to be an Israelite. That's why I asked, what does it mean? What does Israel mean? To prevail. Meaning, no matter where you go, it should be on your mind. I'm gonna prevail. So the moment I get this job, I'm prevailing. I'm better than everybody. I'm greater than you. I don't care. When I'm at business events and I see all these white folks, my first initial thing was, man, they know more than me. But nah, I'm an Israelite. So I'm about to learn this stuff so fast. And I'm better than all y'all before I even go in. I'm more charismatic. I'm more intelligent. I'm way more, I'm better because I'm a child of the Most High. I develop quicker. These are all the things. And understanding, the more you talk to these other nations, they're intimidated. I don't care how much education you have. The moment I speak, you're nervous. Because they say, how did he even get in here? They see the tenacity. They see everything about you. But the thing is, we don't see it ourselves. They see your potential. Like, man, if we just give him an inch, he's going to take a foot. We got to make sure that he does not rise up. Finish that out.
Con, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
If we step outside, we ask our 10 tribe brothers what an Israelite is. How many of them going to be able to answer that question? If any. You talking about those people in Palestine right now? People in Israel right now? If we go to South Central, we go to Compton, we go to Watts, we go to the East Coast, we go to DC, we go to New York, we go to Virginia, Baltimore. How many of our people are going to be able to say they know what an Israelite is? It's sad, right? Now it's time for us to wake up. At this, right now, it says they're doing their job. Being that none of us know what an Israelite is, meaning that's literally where you come from. And you have no clue. Our people are living our lives on a day-to-day, just blind, just accepting what's given. Just happy to have a job. Just happy to be able to drive around. We happy it's All-Star weekend. We ready to just turn up. We just happy. On the most side, I gave you the world. And you happy because of basketball game. You was happy because of the Super Bowl. Meaning all these provinces that's within this world was created for you, and you happy to just have just little scraps. You happy to just have just to get by. Man, I made rent. I'm just happy I made rent. I'm just happy, I was able to eat today. The whole cake, the whole pie was for you. And you happy because you got a little crumbs. You got some Section 8. You know how excited our people get when the EBT hit every month? We get excited when that EBT hit. But it's like, look, all these crops, all this increase was for you. Most High, I gave you I gave you it all. All I asked was for, the first fruits. The first fruits of your offering, just give me that. The rest is all yours. Give 10% to your brothers. Isn't that what the Most High? I'm not even asking for the whole thing. I'm asking for you to just give a portion, just so you can practice charity. Well, the moment you start moving like these other nations, you start moving like Esau, you start moving like everybody else, that's why you fail. You allow greed to kick in. You allow pride to kick in. Arrogance, selfishness, individualism. That's what's being taught within our community, and that's what destroyed us. For you to be like, I got mine, and I'm good. There's a lot of people that graduated from Howard University. I'm going to put that school on blast. I went there. I don't care. It's a lot of people that went to that institution and are doing well in life and are not even considering their own people. It's a lot of people that are in high positions, official positions, whether they're doctors, lawyers, attorneys, so on and so forth, that are making a lot of money, doing in a position that can actually make a difference for their people, but they don't, because they got theirs. They got theirs. I worked hard for mine. Okay, what are you going to do for your people, though? You know who else was in a high position in history that made an impact? Moses. Moses at the top, but he forsook all that for his people. That's why there's a reason why they said, let's help me with this PowerPoint out, because we got to get into this, man. If you could read Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6 out, read all these scriptures. We already read 1 Peter 2 and 9. Just read these two, and we're going to pull up this PowerPoint.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people.
Nah, they tell us that we're a subhuman species.
Above all people.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
above all
It
people.
says the Most High created you to be above, not lesser than, not even equal to, above all people.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth. They like to see, that's the thing. They tell you about the Bible, but the Bible speaks for itself. See, they tell you, or they like to interpret, God loves everybody. Where in the scripture does it ever say that? God just can't be for just one people. He said, I don't care about none of y'all. I care about my people. This is why it's an issue in our community, because we don't read. They say if you want to hide something from a Negro, what do you got to do? Put it in a book. You know why? Because we hate reading. We hate not. Look, like I said, I don't know why I'm putting Howard on blast. I don't even know what happened. But if you go to the libraries at a lot of our institutions, we don't even be in the libraries. We don't read. Our people hate not. We only get we do enough just to get by. We do enough just to pass. Even if it's an A, y'all, it's not hard to get an A in college. I'm not like nothing against my college. It's not hard to get an A in college. All you gotta do is memorize the information, take the test, get through. Did you come to class? Did you take notes? Did you study the notes? Apply it. But now, they already tell you. They tell you exactly what to do. But now, the issue is, are people do enough to get by? That means we're susceptible to just being spoon-fed information. Whereas if we talk about Howard initially, probably prior to like 1990, our people were seeking to get information. We were seeking to get know about ourselves, learn about our history. People were in the stacks. They was in the libraries reading these books, learning about culture, learning about who we are. If you go to any even institution out here, UCLA, USC, our people were in those libraries because we wanted knowledge. But being that we've been broken down so much, we don't even look for it no more. What does scripture say? We don't even consider. We don't even consider to know about who we are. He said, an ox know of his owner, and an ass his master's crib, but Israel doesn't know. Meaning we don't know who our master is. We think our master's a white man. And he said the cold part is you don't even consider. You don't even care to look into where you come from. You don't even care to look into what your forefathers was doing prior to slavery. What your forefathers was doing prior to them stripping you of who you are. Were we always slaves? Were we always at the bottom? Well, let's get into it. Let's this is an article from daily.jstor.org. It says, in practice, the stronger pull was a fear that teaching enslaved people to read or instructing them in religion could lead them to become rebellious. Literacy as freedom. This is americanexperience.edu. It says, as we look upon this young black man reading a Bible, one question that comes to mind is whether or not the subject is an enslaved person. If he is a free man in the North, it would be legal for him to read at this time in 1863. But what if he is not free? Or what if he is not free, a free black man residing in a slave state? The issue of literacy among blacks during the Civil War was a complicated one. Before the 1830s, there were few restrictions on teaching slaves to read and write. After the slave revolt led by Nat Turner in 1831, all slave states except Maryland, Kentucky, and Tennessee passed laws against teaching slaves to read and write. For example, in 1831 and 32, statutes were passed in Virginia prohibiting meeting to teach free blacks to read or write, instituting a fine of $10 to $100 for teaching enslaved blacks. Why are they cracking down so hard? But mind you, it said for free blacks. You were free. And even after you're free, they said, we still don't want you to know about nothing. We still don't want you to know about who you are. We don't even want you to know that you're free. That's the cold part. It's documents that's being passed that says that you're free after emancipation, so on and so forth. But we can't let them even know that they're free. We can't even give them opportunity to step into the light. We want to make sure that they're suppressed at all times. Let's read this is an account of Eastman Johnson. It says was an active in the abolition movement in the 1860s. So it's plausible that he read slave narratives that demonstrated the importance of literacy and specifically the reading of the Bible to slaves and former slaves. One possible source Johnson might have come across was the narrative of former slave James Curry, published in the abolitionist newspaper, The Liberator, on January 10th, 1840. Curry recalls his quest to learn to read. My master's oldest son was 6 months older than I. He went to a day school, and as I had a great desire to learn to read, I prevailed upon him to teach me. What's the key word? He said, I prevailed, meaning our people was eager to get knowledge. He said, look, my master, his son was getting education. I'm gonna press the issue. I need some information. So whatever you can give me, whatever you learning up in that classroom that they keeping me from, I need you to give me that. I'm gonna need you to that information that you got. I need that too. They teaching you financial literacy. I need that. They teaching you about the Bible. I need that too. They teaching you about economics, about science, all of these things. I need that because our people recognize how important it was to developing as a nation, to be able to take this back home and build up as a community, for us to be able to have mathematicians, for us to be able to have people that were skillful in all of these aspects in these trades. Think about what that does for a community and a nation. So now our people knew, we were savvy enough to like, you know what? They winning. Let's get the game from them. And so now he says, before Nat Turner's insurrection, a slave in our neighborhood might buy a spelling or hymn book, but now he cannot. So even songs, and we're going to get into that, why they weren't able to purchase or even read hymns or songs. It has to do with our rebellion. I got so I could read a little when my master found it out and forbade his son to teach me anymore. As I had got the start, however, I kept on reading and studying, and from that time till I came away, I always had a book somewhere about me. And if I got an opportunity, I would be reading in it. Indeed, I have a book now, which I brought all the way from North Carolina. I borrowed a hymn book and learned the hymns by heart. My uncle had a Bible, which he lent me, and I studied the scriptures. My master's family were all gone away in the Sabbath. I used to go into the house and get down the great Bible and lie down on the piazza and read, taking care, however, to put it back before they returned. There I learned that it was contrary to the revealed will of God that one man should hold another as a slave. I always heard it talked among slaves that we are, so on and so forth. So now we wonder why a lot of rebellions happen. When you actually look into it, a lot of them were led by a lot of pastors. Why do you think a lot of slave rebellions within the U.S. were led by pastors? Because these pastors who began to learn how to read and were allowed to read the Bible, they were revealed, they got privy to some information. Something ain't right. These people holding us captive, but I'm reading, we're the children of God. And this is not what God intended for us. God talks about the destruction of what happens when you oppress his people. He talks about what happens when you lead his people into captivity. He talks about what happens when you strip them of their heritage and strip them of their land. So now you take a lot of these pastors, a lot of these leaders, now they're fed up. Now they understand the will of God is for me to be at the top, not for me to be a slave. The will of God is for my people to rule. And so now when you teach all these other people that think they're slaves, that you're supposed to rule, what does that do? It begins to start an uprising. Master was telling me I'm a slave, I'm nothing, I'm a nigga. God's telling me I'm special. Whose word you want to take? I'm going to take the Most High word for it. I'm going to take the Most High's word for it. And so now we see why it was outlawed. Nat Turner was taught the Bible. What did he read in the Bible? That we're the God's chosen people. Even the songs that he quoted, you see that they were talking about hymns and songs. A lot of the songs are centered around the Bible. A lot of the hymns, and I'm going to get to them toward the end, but a lot of these hymns that they sung, matter of fact, since we're here, let's talk about it. Get Ephesians. 5:19.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 19. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord.
It says, speaking unto them in hymns and spiritual songs. We understand the culture of our people, whether we went under the identity of calling ourselves black, or even we go back to when we were calling ourselves Israelites. We had a culture centered around music. And we also understood how important music was. Music was an aspect or a way for us to communicate. And so when you look, and when our people were seeking freedom, when our people were seeking to escape oppression, we used songs, but they were coded. They weren't direct. So now when we read, like, let's look into, what song is this? Steal Away, right? Actually, let's go here. Wade in the Water. This is a pop. Everybody knows this one, Wade in the Water, right? That boy was in the spirit with that one. So it says, because many slaves knew the secret meanings of these songs, they could be used to signal many things. For example, Harriet Tubman used the song Wade in the Water to tell escaping slaves to get off the trail into the water, to make sure the dogs slave catchers used couldn't sniff out their trail. People walking through water did not leave a scent trail that dogs could follow. And then so now if we read, it says, wade in the water, God's going to trouble the water. So now just imagine you being a white person and you just hear me singing that. What does that even mean? Wade in the water, God's going to trouble the water. It's just the niggas singing their song. That's all you're going to hear. But now knowing that it's coded, it's saying, like, if I'm singing the song, just know I'm telling you to get in the water. I'm telling you to cover your tracks so they can't capture you, so you don't go back to your oppression. And so now we see that how we utilize certain methods to get out of oppression, how we utilize certain tools to escape slavery. And so now let's another one. A song that was a favorite of Harriet Tubman's. What do you think it might mean to slaves who heard the song? It says, swing low, sweet chariot. It says, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. And so now I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home, a band of angels coming after me. What was that chariot? That's the Most High. That's the chariot, the chariots that the scriptures talk about. They call them unidentified flying objects, whatever we want to call them. But those are forms of transportation from the Most High. And they were always used as a sign for deliverance. And so now it says, a band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home, tell all my friends that I'm coming too, coming for to carry me home. I think there's more to that song. Oh yeah, let's go back to Wade in the Water. Who are those children all dressed in red? God's going to trouble the water. Must be the ones that Moses led. God's going to trouble the water. Who are those children all dressed in white? God's going to trouble the water. Must be the ones, must be the children, must be the ones of the Israelites. God's going to trouble the water. So now what does that tell you about where her mindset was at? Harriet. She understood something. She understood history. And she identified herself as being in the same as the people that fled out of Egypt. An Israelite. She read the story of, dang, God let them out of oppression. They're going through the exact same thing we're going through here. Who's those children? That's us. The children of the Israelites. We got to step over Jordan. What does that mean to step over Jordan? Meaning we got to get back home. We got to get back to our homeland. We got to get back to our heritage. Our ancestors knew that. We can't stay here in oppression. What is that going to do? We just wasting away. We're building up another man's kingdom. We're building up another nation's economy. And while our children are wasting away, our families is being divided, our wives being split apart. We can't stay in this situation. I don't care if you're fearful. I don't care if you're scared. You got to get up out of here. And so now she utilized these songs to tell you, look, you gotta get up out of here. You gotta move. What did the scripture say? Rise and depart, for this is not your rest. Our ancestors knew that. When do we begin to forget? So we think our ancestors had it bad. No, we got it bad. We got it bad because we're completely unaware right now. We've been stripped of at this point, everything. Our music's been corrupted now, whereas songs that we created were used to build each other up. They were meant to communicate God's will, God's word. Now, what are the songs conveying now? To destroy your own brothers. And when you think about rap music, rap is the same as these spiritual hymns. When it first started, it had a message. What was the first rap song? The Message, right? One of the first earlier rap songs, The Message. OG's looking at me like, oh, it's crazy, right? So now we talk about Rapper's Delight, right? Message, so on and so forth. It had substance. It was talking about what was happening in the community. Broken glass everywhere, right? You know what I'm saying? It talked about the issues of drugs being in our community, of crime, of our communities being crime infested, so on and so forth. Our music provided a solution to get up out of these things. But the more as time progressed, what happens? Where we go from talking about how to overcome oppression, now we're enforcing our own oppression. When we was talking about building up our women, now we're talking about destroying our women. When we was talking about building up black men and brown men, now we're talking about killing or sleeping with his wife or sleeping with his girl. In so much that you can't even get a hit unless you're rapping about these things. Unless you singing about these things. It ain't even going. It's kind of corny for you to even talk about the development of black people. I looked at the backlash that Kendrick Lamar received from his performance. So I'm like, it was whatever, man. It's too woke. it's too political. But at this point in life, that's exactly what you need. You need a wake-up call because you think everything's good. You need to understand that you got an actual enemy that wants you to stay killing yourself, harming yourself, that doesn't want to see you wake up. Let's get to
Just real quick, I went to Jamaica. Even when I was in the world, I went to Jamaica, and I met Petey Pablo. Anybody remember Petey Pablo? Anybody? You know what he rapped about, right? Well, he said when he wanted to be a conscious rapper, that's what he was talking about. Black men coming together. He said they wouldn't sign him. He had to talk about women, hoes. He had to talk about that. He said that's how he was only able to get into the music. He had to rap about that stuff, but he really wanted to rap about us coming together and things. When I talked to him, he was really serious about that.
And what is the scripture the brother read in Psalms 83? That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, meaning they conspired. He said, if you want this contract, we're going to give you the meals that you want. You're going to eat for sure. But you got a few things you got to give up. And you can't talk about building up your people. What? And you want the benefits from us, but you talking about benefiting your nation? Nah. If you want our benefits, you got to benefit us, and you got to be the detriment of your nation. Tupac, we talk about Tupac. Any rapper, majority of rappers that came up in the industry. Right. What album was that? Was that Strictly for My Nick? Or Tupacalypse, right? Yeah, Tupacalypse. That's when he was talking about all the conscious stuff, right? And then what happened? The message started switching. Then he went from the conscious revolutionary to the gangster, right? You can't. They tell you in order for you to win, especially coming out of LA, you want to be an LA rapper and make it. Oh, you got to be from a hood. You got to be from a specific hood, whatever hood, in order for you to make it in the industry. Right. But we understand to make it within this world. What do they tell you? You can't speak life into your people.
So that takes me right to that scripture. Crafty counsel. That's what these owners of the record label did.
Right.
The Jewish cat, I forgot his name, big talk, Edomite.
Got Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah, they specifically set that and made that, and look where we are now. Crafty Counsel by Esau. Damn devil.
It's crafty, meaning it's dynamic. Meaning look, all the stuff that they're doing, it's conscious. They're aware, and they're not even looking at it, man. It's gonna affect them tomorrow. They're looking at it in the long run. It's gonna affect them 20, 30 years from now. They playing the long game while you playing the short game. You look at it, man. He gave me $1 million. Now knowing this $1 million is gonna destroy all the progress that your ancestors made within the past 50 years. It's one thing. I was watching Master P interview, and he brings up the story a lot when he was talking about he met with Jimmy Iovine at Interscope, and Jimmy looked at the potential of Master P. He wanted to offer him $1 million, and then I think he had to give up masters, all this kind of stuff, but it was $1 million, and his homies was mad at him, like, bro, like, we came all the way here, we got on this flight, we put our coins together to even get here, and he offered you $1 million and you pass up on it. And he's like, man, something just ain't sit right with me. He's like, if you're willing to offer me $1 million, how much am I really worth? He says, so I just left off. I just kind of had to put two and two together, put my hustler mentality and really just make it happen. And how many millions did he make after that? So now, understanding that, sometimes you got to be willing to walk away from some money and understand the gift from the Most High is going to be way more abundant. You know what I'm saying? I'm using that as an example to show you that, okay, things might appear to be pleasant, but when you consider how much it's going to affect you in the long run, it's not even worth it. There's a lot of rappers that got $100K contracts, $1 million contracts that wish they never signed those contracts because they don't have no right over their music. They can't leave nothing for their children. They have no legacy. They have no history because they don't own anything. Somebody said something? Oh, TLC, right? Right. TLC, yeah. Right. So now, going back to what we're, the initial conversation of how important it is for us to get education, because education shows us our value. It shows you that, bro, I'm worth way more than $1 million. $1 million might be a lot, but I was listening to Larry Jones. He said $1 million really ain't much in Cali. Like, sometimes you got to put yourself in a perspective, like, bro, this really not a lot of money. And when you start thinking like that, you start getting way more ambitious. Like, bro, $1 million, bro, I'm worth way more than 10 million. If we all come together as a collective, you know how much money we can make? And so now that's where things start happening. This is what they fear. Because at first they're like, man, if we could just get them to be pacified off of just this little amount of money, we got them. But now we're waking up again like, bro, this is not a lot of money. What you offer me, considering what you're getting from me, it's not even worth it. But we get a more understanding the more we read about our ancestors. You know, our ancestors tried to buy us out. We're going to get into the Greek history. Let's read, I'm going to read this passage, the slave Bible, right? It says, what's notable about this Bible is not just its rarity, but its content, or rather the lack of content. It excludes any portion of text that might inspire rebellion or liberation. About 90% of the Old Testament is missing, and 50% of the New Testament is missing. It says, Schmidt says, put in other ways, there are 1,189 chapters in a standard Protestant Bible. The Bible contains only 232. So now, aside from them taking stuff, they said it took 90% of the old. Is that 90%? 90% of the Old Testament. What does that say about the Bible? The Bible is a book of rebellion. The Bible is a book of revolution. And it can inspire insurrection. It can inspire thought-provoking ideas of you overcoming your enemies. That's what they feared. And they said, well, we can never. One thing for sure, they can't read the Old Testament. When we read the Old Testament, what kingdoms come out of the Old Testament that fell? Greeks, Persians and Medes, Babylon, Idumeans, Assyria. It's all types of nations that fell. That the Bible talks. Egypt. Where's Egypt today? After the Israelites left Egypt, that Egypt then got pillaged tenfold after that. Egypt never rose to the prominence in which it was before Israel left. So now imagine you being an Israelite understanding that America really needs me. this United States, this great country, is only great because of me. We want to say make America great again. I'm the reason this country is great. Donald Trump's campaign, I'm the reason this country is great. I'm the reason this country is on top. Why this country was able to thrive and excel and outdo every other nation on the face of the earth. This is why they say we can't let them read that Old Testament. And then they take out the Gospels. Who's in the Gospels? Christ. Don't let these black people learn about a black Messiah that went against, that taught them that they could overcome anything, that nothing's impossible. When you tell a man that nothing's impossible, what does that do? Isn't that what Christ said? He said nothing's impossible. He said, let's go there, man. Y'all got me jumping around, but it's right on time. Let's go to John. Chapter 14, verse 12.
This is the book of John, chapter 14, verse 12. And it reads, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also.
So now, let's stop right there. Believing on Christ, he said, these works that you see me do, you're going to be able to do. Now, Christ, look, he left you a glimpse of what he was capable of doing. He said, what did Christ do? He walked on water. He healed the sick. He was able to heal the dead. He did a lot of miracles. And so he woke up a nation. He woke up a nation that thought they was destroyed, that thought they was just done. And he came back and put life back into them. He said, look, these miracles that you see me do, you're going to be able to do the same thing. But now he doesn't just stop there. Read on.
Verse 12, starting from the top. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father.
He said you're going to be able to do greater works than these. This is the words of Christ. He said you're going to be doing. Excuse me. Thank you for the juice. He said you're going to be able to perform greater miracles. Be able to perform greater miracles than these. Meaning whatever you've seen Christ do, he said, look, you have the capacity to do a lot more. We've seen Paul woke up thousands in a day. We've seen the apostles, they woke up thousands in a day. In a short time span, they got a lot accomplished. So it's showing you, you don't need to have everything in order to get a lot done. And we're going to see that when we get into these stories. Let's get into the Maccabees. Give me First Maccabees chapter 3.
This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 1.
No, not wrong. Let's read verse 17. So understanding, just backtracking a little bit of events that transpired in history. Alexander the Greek ended up conquering the known world. This is an Edomite man, a white man, conquered the known world. He died from a sexually transmitted disease, split up his kingdom in 4. So now it's under 4 different families that's ruling the known world. At this time, who rose into prominence was the Seleucid dynasty. The Seleucid dynasty had the entire Middle East in subjection, even portions of Egypt as well. And so much that they even decided to go against Israel and Jerusalem, and they destroyed the temple of Israel. So they destroyed what we held dear and held sacred, right? And so now they made laws prohibiting you from what? Learning who you are, learning about your culture, learning about the Most High. Why? Because they understood that there's power in what? In your name. What was the main thing that they were pushing under Greek influence? Hellenism. Idolatry, but under the branch of Hellenism, right? And so Hellenism meaning Greek influence, meaning you were supposed to think like a Greek, speak like a Greek, behave like a Greek. And you're supposed to leave off from whatever your customs were and become Greek. They say everybody should be one nation. That's always been Esau's mindset. Everybody should be one nation, but not under the Most High, under white supremacy, under white ideologies. That he's the superior race, that he's the top dog, or he's that guy. But when the Most High says, look, he chose you to be the greatest people on the face of the earth, right? Let's read verse 17.
Gone. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 17. Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so a great multitude and so strong?
So now we see it got to a point where the Greeks were overdoing it. Our people, at that time, we accepted our loss. We accepted, all right, we got to serve the Greeks at that time. That's what we did. But then they started pushing it further. They defiled our temple. They defiled our sanctuary. They pretty much just disrespected us. And then it got to a point like, not me, our nation was more so fed up. And so then what happens when we're fed up? We begin fighting. And we don't care. We don't even care about the words. We're going to fight. We're not going out like cowards. And so now we had a leader named Mattathias, who his 5 sons, he set up to be the leading class during that time, the leading military class during that time, who are also high priests as well. When you read verse 17.
Verse 17 from the top. Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day?
So now they're going against a lot of Greeks. The odds is slim to none for them to win, right? With a carnal mind. If you go into war with a carnal mind, you're going to always lose. But now Judas always had a different mindset. He said, look, what did he say?
Verse 18, unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few.
He said, look, this is real confidence in the Most High. He said it's not a hard thing for a lot to be destroyed by few. And what else does he say? Because he gives examples.
And with the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company.
That is faith. That's faith. This is the battle that takes place every day, right in front of you. In your mind, you're always like, man, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to overcome this? You got all these enemies in front of you. But then you got to have that Judah, the Judah mindset. Like, bro, it's already won. I won. In the Art of War, I'm going to keep quoting the Art of War. It said, victorious warriors win first, then go to war. What does that mean? Meaning you've already confirmed in your mind, I already popped champagne. I already popped the champagne. I won. I'm already celebrating before I even go to war because I beat you. Now I just got to act out the motions. It's already prophesied that you won. This is where our faith is being tested. Do you believe that you're going to win? Come on. Read on, because he's about to give you more examples.
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 19. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven.
Strength coming from what?
From heaven.
God prevails. It's in your name. Like we have to understand that the Most High prevails. Our ancestors believe that. They understood it. He said, look, I don't care if they had 1 million troops. I'm going to win. What did David say? He said, I killed a lion and a bear. This Philistine going to be the same because God's going to deliver him to my hands. He said, y'all tripping about his height. And I'm looking at, I got God with me. I'm not worried about any of that. I don't care if he's 10 feet, 14 feet. It don't matter if I got God with me. So he's like, look, these Greeks, they gonna fall. What does that show us? That you got to work with what you have. Work with what you have. David had a sling. He said Saul tried to give him a sword, an armor. He said, I ain't prove this. I don't know how to use this. But this sling, I'm going to do some damage with the sling. Judah understood that. He said, I'm going to work with what I got. I got these men. I left all the cowards at home. I told them to go home. You just got married? Go to your wife. Tend to your wife. Don't be in my, you're not going to be in my military. Anybody that's ready to die for the laws of the Lord, come follow me. Anybody that's willing to stand up for their nation and for their people, I need y'all to follow. I don't care. If I had 10,000 people and 9,000 of y'all left, I'm good. I got 1,000 men with me. That's how our people move. Because when we all in one accord and we're all in unison, that we're going to stand up for our law, stand for the Most High, we're going to conquer. Read.
Verse 20. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us, and our wives and children, and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the law. Wherefore
again. We fight for our what?
We fight for our lives and our laws.
They had a cause. They fought for something. They had something to stand up for. What's our cause now? We don't stand for nothing. That's why we don't have no fight in us. That's why when the police kill our people, when police brutality happens, because it's a season. I don't know why it's seasonal. It keeps happening. We go back to protesting. We get back in the streets. We shall overcome, and we go back to what we're doing. The cycle gets repeated. Why? Because we don't really have a cause. We don't really stand for anything. What did we do last time? We blackened our screens on social media to show that what did that mean? What that mean, Aaron? Well, what is showing a black icon on your Instagram page? What did that really do? It means that, yeah, that made me mad. I disagree with how they treat our people. What you gonna do about it? Because he's gonna do it again. You think when a bully sees weakness, you think he's gonna stop? He took your lunch money last week. You think, oh, this week, man, he's kind of cool, No, he wants your lunch money this week. Until you do what? Until you fight. Let's use American. We want to go into history, right? Because they tell us to be docile. But let's use white history for an example. British was bullying the 13 colony in every aspect, heavy taxation in every aspect, right? Did the 13 colonies go out there and hold up picket signs? Did they sing "We Shall Overcome"? What did they do? They fought, bloodshed, got their muskets, and started letting off. That's the history. So now, why do we decide to do something different? If we want to pattern our ways after the white man, why don't we pattern ourselves in that aspect? Why? How can we, when it comes to war, now we're peaceful? When it comes to disrespect, now we tolerate it. Now we just accept it. The white man will tell you, man, when we got a problem, we bring out the guns. But when y'all got a problem, I need y'all to hold up these picket signs. I'm gonna need y'all to sing some more. Give me the songs of the precious songs of Zion. What song? What scripture is that? Isaiah. Is that Psalms 137, verse 3. And then hold that Maccabees on the back.
Gone. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 137, verse 3. It says, "For there they carried us away captive, required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion."
He said, "Look, they that carried us afar, they required of us mirth." What does that mean? They want you to smile even through your affliction. Yeah, I know I didn't split up your families, I didn't sold your kids, sold your wives, but I'm gonna need y'all to put that smile on your face. I got company. I got company. And sing one of them songs of Zion that y'all be singing in the fields. They'll like that. That's what they expect of you. They expect you to be docile. They expect you to just turn over and just accept oppression. But when it comes to them, when they're being afflicted, what did they do? They fought. Every time. Esau is going to always. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where did that result from? Pearl Harbor, right? Did America show any mercy? Did they say, you know what, man, they got us. They got us. It happens. They could have. That's what they expect for you as a black man or a Latino man to do. But now it's like they thought they bombed us. They went all the way to Hawaii and bombed us. Oh yeah, we just created something special for y'all. We got something special for y'all. And we low-key anticipated. We thought y'all was gonna get kind of bold. And we gonna make sure y'all never think to even do anything on American soil. What they do, they put 2 special bombs for Japan. Those cities will never recover. Hiroshima and Nagasaki will never recover for years. You even go over there in the vicinity of it, you can get radiation poison. Keep sleeping. It's good. Read that.
Con,
good. All right,
Con, the book of Psalms, chapter 137, verse 4. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
How are you going to expect us to be peaceful when we in a land of all oppression? How are you going to expect me to smile when I'm being afflicted on a day-to-day basis? My family just got sold yesterday. My brother just got murdered. My cousin just got killed. What you expecting me to smile through all of this? You see, this is how hypocritical your oppressor is. But the Most High said, your ancestors never did that. Your ancestors would never settle for this. You letting these other nations kind of mark you out, low key, to be honest, because Judah would never go for that. David would never go for that. Christ wouldn't go for that. What did Christ say? He said, who is this coming from Basra? His garment is dyed. Meaning, he killed so much that he had a white garment on and now it's red. He said, whosoever is, and when the time's going to present itself, sell whatever you have, sell your garment and get a sword. That's the words of Christ. He said, I came not to bring peace on earth, but what? A sword. So now, where is this docile Christ that the world talks about? Because all I hear from Christ is rebellion, revolution, overcoming, thriving, success. He said every time, he said, look, when I sit on my throne, y'all going to be right here with me. He talks about rulership. That's all he preached. He said, look, I need y'all to change your ways so y'all can enjoy success with me. That's the only reason I'm here. I was chilling with Pops, but I want y'all to enjoy this with me. I want y'all to enjoy this with me. He said, there's no greater love than this, than a man that laid down his life for his friends. This is why we got to understand our history, why you got to understand Christ. Because when you understand Christ, that's how you overcome what? The world. You overcome yourself. You understand the scriptures. This is why their intention was to remove the gospels from the scriptures, remove the Old Testament. The Old Testament talks about who? It talks about Israel, and it also talks about Christ. They don't want you to have hope. What is a Messiah? A savior. They don't want hope. They want to strip that from you. If you give our people any ounce of hope, we can work with it. What was his sole purpose? COINTELPRO, right? COINTELPRO, excuse me. To prevent a black Messiah, right? In so much, they dismantled the Black Panther movement. They dismantled a lot of black movements that we don't even know about. There's a lot of movements that didn't even get publicity because they was aware of it. Our people wasn't. Fred Hampton. What happened to Fred Hampton? He got murdered. Why? Because they seen potential. They said, "Man, this man is gonna do damage." They tried to put him in jail. Put him in jail made things worse. They tried to lie on the Black Panthers and create all these things. It made things worse. Now these people are inquiring, like, Black Panthers, what they about? Why were they putting in jail? Oh, they stood up against the police. Oh, I want to sign me up. Sign me up. Anybody that stand against the pigs, I gotta be down with them. And so much now they're like, man, I gotta get rid of these people. All the leaders. They started taking them off one by one. You don't think they had Christ on their list too? You don't think they had Christ on their list? Judah, you don't think they had Judah on this list? Simon, Jonathan, they look, Finish that in Maccabees. Finish in Maccabees. Because if we don't get to all the stuff, we're going to get through Maccabees.
Gone. This is First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 20-21. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them.
Right.
Now, as soon as he had left off speaking, he leaped suddenly upon them. And so Saran and his host was overthrown before him. And they pursued them from the going down of Beth Horon unto the plain, where were.
See what's out there. Hold on 1 second. Read one second. Yeah, read give me one support is better. Yeah, read verse 59.
Gone. The book of First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 59.
Read verse 43, then jump down to verse 59.
Gone. Verse 43. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary.
So now, this is a pattern that our people have. They thought they destroyed us, and our people rose up and overthrew our enemies. And so now what? We restored ourselves. Now we're putting ourselves back in position. We see that happen many a times in history. Man, hey, how do you keep the computer from falling asleep? You said it's a connection? Oh. Where was that? Read verse 59.
Gone. The book of First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 59. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary.
It's a quote from our ancestors. He said, before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. That's a song. That's an actual slave hymn. That's what our ancestors sung. He said, before I be a slave, I'd rather be buried in my grave. This is how our ancestors always thought. He said, before I serve a man more unworthy than me, why would I do that? I'd rather die in battle. I'd rather fight. Let me go out fighting in battle. Then just accept failure and now I live life miserably, wondering what if. This could be twofold. This could be going for your goals, going for what you know is right. You're settling for the scraps when the Most High said you can go for the whole pot. When you settle for scraps, you're accepting slavery. You're accepting being at the bottom. When you go for the whole thing, now you're accepting what your ancestors was accepting. Rulership, dominion. Read read verse 6 of chapter 4.
Gone. This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 6. But as soon as it was...
Read verse 1 and then drop down to verse 6.
Gone. Verse 1. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen and removed out of the camp by night. Verse 4. Verse 6. Salakia. But as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with the 1,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their mind.
He said they didn't have armor or sword, meaning straight hands. Just hands. Meaning George's, it said 5,000 of the most, that's like your special ops in the Greek military. Meaning that the best in his military. He took them, he's like, man, we got to get rid of these Hebrews. We got to get rid of Judas, man. They making some noise. It said, I'm gonna read it myself. Verse 6 of chapter 3, it says, wherefore the wicked shrunk of fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled because salvation prospered in his hands. He grieved also many kings and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Every nation during this time feared Israel. This is the history they don't tell you about. This is your people, so-called black people, so-called brown people, right? It said these nations feared Judah. They feared Israel because of their battles of how they was abusing the Greeks. They was whooping on them in battle. And it said, we just dropped down to verse 6. It said they didn't even have a sword or armor in their hand. Meaning they were so passionate about protecting themselves, protecting their law, and serving the Most High that they didn't care. I'm going to kill you with your sword. Isn't that what David did? He cut off Goliath's head with Goliath's sword. That's how cold our people are. You think I'm afraid of your gun? You think I'm afraid of a gun when I got God with me? You think I'm afraid of any tool or any weapon that you got when I have the Most High with me? This is the confidence that our people had in the Most High. And I want to show you because our people, we get a form of fear. Fear creeps in when we're met with a opposition, when we're met with adversity. It's easy to fall into susceptible to fear. Every man falls into that situation. But you got to reassure yourself. You got to remind yourself by doing what? Looking into history. When you're met with something that you think can overcome, you got to look in what happened with your ancestors when they were met with impossible tasks, when they were met with a strong host or a strong military. What did they do? They said, regardless, we're going to fight. They ain't even got a choice. I'm going to fight. But now let's read chapter 4 and verse 30.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David.
Stop right there. So when Judah's men became fearful, when they got nervous in battle, what did he do? He reassured his men by doing what? Going into history. So when you feel weak, when you feel like quitting, you got to also remind yourself that, man, this same situation my ancestors went through. David was in the same situation plenty of times. You know how many people wanted to kill David? Not even just his real enemy. His own people wanted to kill him. Matter of fact, his father-in-law wanted to kill him. Sent plenty of forces to get rid of him. But David never got hurt. Why? Because the Most High was with him. And so now Judah's reminding, he's like, look, our forefather David overcame his enemies plenty of times. Read.
And gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Verse 31, shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen.
That's what they were praying for. So now the Most High steps in because it's through our faith that's when the Most High steps in. When you believe, anytime Christ was healing people, because Christ wasn't able to heal everybody. The people he wasn't able to heal, why wasn't he able to heal them? They didn't believe. So what does that show about the safety and the salvation of the Most High? The only way we get saved from the Most High is based off of our belief. It's the belief. He said, do you believe you could be saved? Do you believe you can overcome your enemies? I need all of y'all to be confident, because if one of y'all is fearful, our prayer might not be heard. So I need all of y'all to believe that. Now I'm about to go talk to the Lord real quick. What happened after that? He said they overthrew his company. They fled for fear of them. Most High had them shook. Oh, Judah came out to fight. I don't want no smoke. They ran. It said they spoiled them. They took all their riches. They took everything, brought it back home. They built up, rededicated the temple, cleaned everything back up, and rededicated to the Most High. This is why we keep the celebration of the Feast of Dedication. It's a memorial of how the Most High delivered us from our enemies and how we overcame a strong enemy. It's a reminder. So this is why every single feast day that we keep is honestly a revolution. The Passover is a revolution. How we fled out of the hands of the Egyptians. Destruction of Nicanor is a revolution. The memorial assignment is a revolution. Purim is a revolution. So now when we look at it, that's why they said we got to take this out of the Bible. We got to create a slave Bible, because everything in the Old Testament is always talking about revolution. And we can't inspire no type of thought of them even thinking that they can overcome us, that they even have any type of chance. Keep feeding them poison. Keep feeding them that they're nothing. Keep feeding them that they're nobody. Don't ever let them know their real name. Just the idea of you knowing your real name, that you're the chosen people of God, that it's in your spirit to prevail. What does that do? It's a domino effect. It's a righteous virus, right? It spreads. Where I'm confident, just as fear is contagious, confidence contagious. When you see me willing to die for my people, you're like, man, he willing to die. Let me dust this nervousness off. Let me get my head in order. That's what Judas did for his men. He's like, hey, man, Judas ready to die? I'm willing to die now. I'm good. I'm solid. That's what a strong leader does. That's what David did for his men. That's what David did for Israel. So Solomon did. That's what Christ did for his people. So now, this is why this history is important. The Apocryphal, what does it mean? It means hidden. Why was it hidden? Why was it taken out by the Protestant church? Okay. They don't want you to know. I looked in the year when it was taken out. I believe it said 1880. That's a little bit after emancipation. When we're talking about these people beginning to read around 1880, I believe. About 20 years after emancipation, right? Our people began to read. They were reading the Bible. And best believe they was reading the Maccabees. And so now they began to take the Apocrypha out of the Bible. So now you got the King James, the original translation, it says 1611, but that's not authentic 1611 because the 1611 had the Apocrypha in it. Oh, you got it, Khan. He said, "Nah, correction, yeah, I got it." Khan, right. But this is why our history is important. Let's go get into a few more things. Let's read. I wanted to talk about the family dynamic. Let's get into that for a second. Let's read Sirach chapter 25, verse 1.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25, verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men: the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together.
He said, these things are beautiful to the Most High. This is also one thing that your enemy fears. It says the love of brethren. We can never let our people love each other. What comes after that? When we start, what did Malcolm X say? He said, if one, he said when black men unite, when black men come together, it says that means when you attack one black man, you attack all black men. If I look to you as myself, it says love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So if I love you just as I love myself, what does that mean? I'm gonna look out for you. It's not just me looking out for myself anymore. What does it also teach us? That we gotta have self-love in our community too. So I mean, I have to not only love myself, but I have to love my people. It says to love your wife as you love your own self too. So meaning our women, we gotta look out for our women as well. It says a man that provides not for his own is worse than an infidel. I mean, we have to take care of our children. All of these things, if we look into our records, the Most High teaches us how to thrive. And it's always through the family dynamic. Matter of fact, I can't, what's the scripture I run where it says to set your house in order before you even do the works of the Lord? That's 1 Thessalonians. Scripture. God, if you can get that, if you don't have it right now, we'll probably give it at the end. But nonetheless, the Most High is saying, look, before you can even get into these works, you got to make sure your family's in order, because it always starts with the family. It always starts with your children. It starts with your wife. Once you build that, then you set the foundation of building up the nation. How are you going to build up the nation and your house is falling apart? Your household is a reflection and is an example of where the nation is supposed to be. The man's supposed to be the leader, right? The woman is supposed to be assisting and assisting the man toward getting to that destination. When you dismantle all of that, you're destroying the nation. That's why it's an agenda against the black man, black woman, Latino man, and Latino woman. It's a big agenda. Even when I was in college, it was a movement called the Niggas Ain't Ish movement. I don't know if y'all remember, but it was being pushed that we just nothing. That we just nothing. And this is by black women. But then the same thing was being pushed by black men toward black women. And so now what happens? Is any progress going to be made when we keep telling each other that we're nothing? All we're doing is enforcing an agenda that we nothing. But now what happens if you flip the script? If you change how the narrative of what your enemy's trying to portray? The Most High says that we're a peculiar people. Most High says for me to love my wife as I love myself. What if we change that narrative? So that's why it says, read it, Sirach 25.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25, verse 1. In three things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men: the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together.
A man and a wife that agree together. Can two walk together except they be agreed? So how can we? So now it says, how can we expect to develop as a nation if we can't come together? If a man and a woman can't agree on something. The Most High already set the order. He said let's start it from the top. The Most High, Christ, man, then a woman. And of course the children follow. When you go against that order, then we read the situation in which we're in right now. So now the Most High is letting it be known, if you want to thrive, you have to follow his order. You have to follow exactly how your ancestors did it, how they led their households, how they thrived as a nation and as a community. Read let's see. John 13, verse 35. I was going to go into how we built up communities here, the importance of the family dynamic. We want to speak on like Black Wall Street, various Black communities aside from Black Wall Street, of how our people were able to develop financial stability and improve our economy, even following slavery. But we don't got time for that. I'll probably get on the next one. But read that scripture, John 13.
God, this is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another.
He said, if you show love. What is love? The keep. We a lot of us, we quoted, love is the keeping of the commandments. But what is the commandments? Love your brother. It gives you civil. The scripture is broken down into 5 categories. You got civil laws, meaning in the way we conduct ourselves in business, moral laws, in the way we conduct ourselves spiritually and with each other, dietary laws, based off of the things that we partake in as far as what we eat. You know what I'm saying? What am I missing? Ceremonial laws, the laws that we keep that are pertain to the Most High, as well as the sacrificial laws. So now when we go against this, we fall. But when we uphold these customs, when we uphold what our ancestors upheld, then we begin to thrive, right? We're set up high, set apart. Meaning these other nations were used to look to you for wisdom, look to you for guidance and edification. But now we're looking to the other nations. And so long as we continue to look to the other nations for game, for wisdom, for knowledge, we're going to stay subservient. So now the Most High said, look, inquire, I pray thee. And we go back to the initial scripture that we started off with. Inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of your fathers. This is why it's important for you to learn about your forefathers. This was just one aspect of it, but it's important. I just got like 2 more scriptures. Isaiah 43. I believe that's Job chapter 8, verse 8. Yeah. Another one is Job 9:21. Jeremiah 6:16. If you didn't get those ones, I'm gonna share my screen one more time. Help me out, I'm out. Good. All right, go. Okay, just so y'all can see, just backtracking a little bit. This was the Maccabean revolt. This is an example of all the land that the Greeks were able to inhabit, but then once they destroyed, Israel was left with that little dark green remnant that we see in Jerusalem. But then after the Maccabean revolt, we're able to retain Jerusalem back. So we're able to occupy the rest of this land and get everything back, actually. And so it just shows you what happens when you Instead of turning over, what happens when you begin to fight? You can get back what you lost. Prevail. I was going to go into this, the Baptist War. This happened. This was an example of what happens when you read the Bible. When our people read the Bible, a man by the name of Samuel Sharp, he ended up getting our people to rise up in Jamaica in order to overcome their enemies. It started off with a small protest. Our enemies weren't letting up, so they ended up burning a lot of the livestock. They ended up burning and killing a lot of their slave masters, and this led toward the emancipation, or it expedited the time of emancipation. So we just see what happens when our people begin to when you start fighting, then stuff starts changing. Just another example of other rebellions, Nat Turner Rebellion in 1831. So while the Christmas Rebellion or the Baptist War was happening, the Nat Turner Rebellion was happening in the within the U.S. Got the Stonewall Uprising, 1739, the Demerara Revolt in 1823, the Haitian Revolution in 1791. That's a critical one to understand because they defeated the French. They didn't just push them back; they defeated the French. I can send this PowerPoint. Yeah. The I can't pronounce this. I don't want to say it wrong, but I'm gonna just say it anyways. The Busas Rebellion, 1816. Backtracking a little bit. Okay, so now, get Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 1 first.
Come, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 1. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee.
What did he say? Fear not. Because it's easy to fall. When you're going toward revolution, when you're going toward getting yourself out of oppression, one of the main tactics that your enemy is going to use is fear. To keep, man, what's going to happen if we step outside? That's what our ancestors was. It was our community was circulated with fear. You've seen what happened to your dad when he went against the grain. When he decided to revolt, he got killed. They tied him to 4 horses, split him apart. He got lynched, castrated, so on and so forth. All types of sick things that happen. But is that going to stop us from fighting? When you understand that it's worse for me to stay here and be abused rather than me fight and be abused. Well, at least I got a chance with fighting. So now that's what our people, the Most High is letting it be known. Don't fear if you understand that I'm with you and I've always been with you. But it's your faith, it's your doubt that's keeping you from it. It's your sin, it's your actions that's keeping you from it. So now let's drop down. So we're about to close. Read verse 18.
Verse 18. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 18. Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old.
So now, if we stop right there, is that a contradiction to what was just brought out this whole time? It says, remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. That's the key thing in context. So now what is this about to talk about? Read verse 19.
Verse 19, behold, I will do a new thing.
A new thing. So now, meaning don't get too pressed off of how you did things in the past. Sometimes you got to come up with new strategies. The importance of looking into history is not just to repeat what your ancestors did, but to be innovative. Sometimes I could look at what Malcolm X did. Like, he was successful, but he can be even more successful if he applied this. I look at what David did. David could have been way more successful if he had applied this. So the Most High is showing you, okay, don't just be too pressed off of the things of the past, but learn from the past so you can do better. Learn from your forefathers. Learn from your actual dad. Learn from your foremother. And see, okay, my mom went wrong here, but I can do better here. That's what the Most High is talking about, meaning innovation. The Most High is about to give you strategies that are new, that your ancestors weren't able to use, that your ancestors weren't privy to. Read verse 19.
Verse 19, behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert.
A way in the wilderness. Meaning, what's contained in the wilderness? Nothing but trees. You can get lost in the wilderness easy. But the Most High said, look, through me, I'll create a route for you. And he said, I'll make a river in the desert. How likely are you to find a river in the middle of the desert? It's very unlikely, but it shows you that with the Most High, it's very possible. So Most High is showing, I'm gonna give you opportunities to overcome when it feels like it's slim to none. We seen that with Judah. We seen that through these rebellions. Every time where it feels like it's impossible, that's when the Most High steps in. Well, you feel like, man, I don't know what to do, but I know God gonna get me out of this. And that's what I'm like. All I needed was you to say that. All I need is your belief, and you're gonna see something. You're gonna see a new thing. And so the Most High provided the strategies to overcome oppression. We see it through our music. We've seen it through aspects of our dance. Capoeira. Does anybody know what capoeira is? Capoeira was a fighting style. That was this when we went back to the art of war, deception. That's how you can overthrow your enemy. It's deception. So capoeira is an aspect of war using deception in a style of dance. So we see that in Brazil, our people were being oppressed. They were being, went through all types of inhumane things. And in aspects of being able to overcome their enemies, they wasn't using music. They didn't use it. They said, we're going to fight, but we're going to use dance. So they had drums. It looked like a ceremony that they would just what black people do, right? But now we're about to, what the oppressors didn't know is that they're actually training. That behind the scenes, they're actually trying to knock heads off. They're trying to overthrow their enemies. We don't have time to go through the video, but nonetheless, this is an example of sometimes you got to come up with new strategies. Sometimes you got to come up with other methods to overthrow your enemies and come and be innovative. Sometimes protesting may not be the thing. It may have worked. Actually, protesting did work. It served its purpose during the civil rights movement. But now where we're at in 2025, that same method may not work. So now you got to be innovative. Okay, what can I do today now that's going to help us push forward now? And so now during this time in the 19th century, capoeira was a method. We're going to look at another thing. Oh, let me just read it. I don't want to. How much time we got out? Give me like 3 minutes. I don't want to extend it too long. Now I'm gonna just share that information with y'all. Let's get into this. So now, cornrows. We've always had cornrows, but now the aspect and the use of cornrows during the time of our oppression was used as a form of deception as well. They actually used cornrows to map out freedom routes to get out of oppression. So the next time a girl was getting you crispy with getting your braids right, she was mapping you out, get you to freedom. She was trying to get you to success, salvation. And so now we're gonna see that this is B Beds SU. I'll give y'all the link to it. Cornrows during slavery used as a way to escape. Slavery began when millions of Africans were brutally ripped from their homes and shipped to the New World, where they had their heads shaved to take away their cultural identity. Cornrows helped enslaved Africans put up small acts of rebellion and resistance by not only allowing them to keep their heritage close, but also providing a discreet way to transfer information. Cornrows soon became used as a way for slaves to secretly communicate with one another. Slaves would style their cornrows in different patterns as a means of communicating in code written messages. The documentation of this is in Colombia, where Bincos Piojo, a royal captured from the Bisagos Island by the Portuguese, escaped slavery and built a Palingue village in northern Colombia, where he then created an intelligence network, coming up with the idea of having women make up maps and deliver messages through their cornrows. Slaves did this to avoid messages getting into the wrong hands and risk being caught escaping. A particular number of braids can indicate possible escape routes or even be used to signal or meet up time without drawing scrutiny. Slaves will also hide bold fragments or seeds to give the wearer some nourishment while escaping. So they even hook you up with some crispy braids, but then give you something to plant some seeds to have you some food. That's how innovative our people are. We're gonna find a way to get out. If we're being oppressed, we're gonna find a strategy to get out of oppression. If we gotta be innovative, I gotta get these cornrows and map it out. Tell Joker, let me see your hand real quick. We lose direction of where we're supposed to be. It's already on your head. The Most High gave you the tools. And so now, the enslaved wore cornrows as a simple way to wear their hair during the weekend. Cornrows were also considered the best option for those who were allowed inside plantation houses and required to keep a tidy appearance. So now you're getting past Esau and you're looking up to par, and you got the map to freedom. This is innovation. Our people use many tactics to get out of oppression. We didn't just roll over as our oppressor tells us. We have so many strategies, and we've always been fighting, and the fight never stopped. Come on. Right. Right. Exactly. Let's get some words from Christ. Get Matthew 13, verse 10. Get what's the sheep among wolves? Kanye, man. You gotta leave it to Kanye. You gonna know, man. Right hand right there. Matthew's 10, verse 16. Get that first, and then get Matthew's 13, verse 10.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16. And it reads, and he took them up in his arms, put his hands upon them, and blessed them. 10 and 16. Oh, so like I'm in Mark. Lock in, come. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16. And it reads, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves.
He said, wise as serpents. What does that mean? Meaning you got to understand how your enemy thinks. You got to understand that your enemy wants to see your demise. He's telling you, look, they're seeking to destroy you. And I need you to be just as smart as them, just as savvy as them, but don't move like them. That's what he's telling you. You don't have to move like Esau to overthrow Esau. You don't have to do or have his methods of cruelty to overthrow him. But you have to understand that what he's capable of. You have to understand what he's done. You have to be aware of your enemy. That's the importance that Christ is conveying to his disciples at that time. He said, I'm sending you a sheep among wolves. What does a wolf do to a sheep? Meaning their sole intent is to devour. Their sole intent is to destroy. No, ain't no talking, ain't no piecing it up, none of that. There's no mercy. So you got to be aware and you got to be mindful of their intentions. If he is trying to be peaceful, no, I'm dealing with a wolf. I'm dealing with a serpent. I'm dealing with a snake. Be aware. Though he said, though he have need of thee, what did he say? He'll use thee if he have need of thee. He'll smile in your face. Trust. Look, I work with these white folks all the time. They'll smile in your face, and they hate you. They hate you, and they don't even know why they hate you. They just hate you. They don't even know why. He's like, I don't know why I hate him, but it's just there. The Most High is letting it be known to protect yourself. Be aware. Know who your enemy is. Read Matthew 13, verse 10. This is going back to us speaking in code.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables?
He's saying, why are you speaking to them in code? Why don't you just speak just plain? And what is Christ's response?
Verse 11, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven.
He said, because you know what I'm talking about, and it's not for them to know what I'm talking about. So when I put these rap lyrics together, you might, Tazana might know, Makazah might know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? But Esau may not know what I'm talking about. Like, this guy just putting words together. Now I'm saying what I'm talking about is revolution. What I'm talking about is overcoming. What I'm talking about is us showing love to each other. But when he reads my lyrics, he's like, man, I don't know what the heck he's talking about. That's what happens when you let Esau interpret the scriptures. When Esau, if you just read commentary on Esau interpreting the scriptures, it sounds crazy. Because they're reading it from their perspective. They're not reading it to understand an Israelite perspective. You know oppression. You know about what it feels like to be at the bottom. That's why you understand the scriptures differently. That's why Christ spoke to you differently. He said, my sheep hear my voice. Esau doesn't hear the message of Christ the way you do. because it wasn't for them. It was never for them. So now that's why our people took Christ's same approach during times of slavery. We spoke in code because our people understand this message, and that's who it's for. So now let me just close out with John chapter 16 in verse 32 to 33.
This is the book of John, chapter 16, verse 32. Behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered, every man to his own.
So he said, Christ is letting it be known, look, the time is coming. They're going to try to oppress you again. They're going to try to destroy you again because you're waking up. You're coming back to the realization of who you are. So they're going to really try to crack down and destroy you. So it's important that you're aware. The moment you decide to wake up, just know there's a battle at hand. The scriptures say, when you come to serve the Lord, what? Prepare thy soul for temptation. Meaning the moment you decide to accept the fact that you're an Israelite and what's required of you, expect there to be a battle. And don't back down. Don't run. Don't try to run from the adversity. Understand this is what comes with the territory. But also understand what's at the end of this. What's at the end when you overcome? This is what Christ letting me know. Read.
Con. Every man to his own, and shall leave me alone, and yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me.
That's the first thing. That's what Judah understood. He said, I'm never alone. I don't care who's a part of my company. If I got 5 soldiers with me, 100, 1,000, one thing that's important is if God's with me, I'm overthrowing anybody that comes against me. Read.
Verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that it may ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation.
He said, if you stay in oppression, if you stay a slave, you're going to stay in tribulation. You're going to stay at the bottom. You're going to stay getting disrespected. You're going to stay getting trotted on, whatever, all types of atrocities. But he said, in him is how you find peace. Through Christ is how you overcome. What did he say?
But be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
He said, I overcame the world. That's why it's important for you to understand your history, because Christ left a legacy behind. He left you a strategy to overcome the world. The blueprint to overcome the world. So it's important for us all to take heed, for us to study where we come from. When we call ourselves Israelites, it's not just because we call ourselves Israelites, but we're descendants of a man that prevailed. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. With that, I'm gonna say, you got a question? Come on. God prevails. All right, shalom. All right, y'all. All right, shalom to the family online. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. Shalom.